It was a really tough night for Chelsea at Elland Road. Maybe they're Moisés Caicedo FC, maybe they're Reece James FC, because without those two last night, Chelsea looked utterly lost. Chelsea have got to overcome this December curse. Well, welcome back to the Chelsea Sunsport YouTube channel, and today I've got the pleasure, or the displeasure really, of breaking down Chelsea's defeat to Leeds last night. 3-1. The Blues were beaten. Enzo Maresca's side really struggled, in truth be told, away at Elland Road. I was there at the game, watching from the press box, and this is what I learnt really from it. Whilst they may have beaten Barcelona and got a point against Arsenal with just 10 men, looking the better side, may I add, Chelsea have got to overcome this December curse. When I was at Enzo Maresca's press conference, I put some stats to him about Chelsea's awful December form, and he told us, reminisced really in the worst way, about last season when in December it all came crashing down, a feeling that's been all too familiar for Chelsea. If you remember last season, they were well in the title race with front runners Liverpool up until December, when on Boxing Day against Fulham, it all fell apart from that point onwards. And Chelsea, after that, they then lost to Ipswich away from home, 2-0 there, and then they suffered 2 consecutive draws after that. It was a really rough patch of form for Maresca's side, and it's something that he's going to really have to contend with again this season, because starting away with Leeds, obviously a really tough fixture for a lot of teams. Leeds away from home is a difficult place to go. Elland Road make it a really, really good atmosphere. It was the first time I'd been there, either as a fan or for work. And I was really impressed with the atmosphere. And to be honest, really impressed with Leeds. I thought they were really good against Chelsea. They looked like they wanted it more. They showed more desire. And that was really disappointing, in all honesty, to see from Chelsea. And when they play Bournemouth next weekend, it's going to be a similar story, because Bournemouth, again, another one of those sides that have got a lot of passion, a lot of fight, probably, in all honesty, more talent than Leeds, because they've got some really, really special players, Bournemouth, the likes of Antoine Semenyo, who can cause a lot of problems. And they've got some really, really good players. Evan Nilsson, obviously a good striker as well. Some really good defenders like Marcos Senesi. And it will be a return to playing against Chelsea for Jordi Petrovic, who obviously spent a few years with Chelsea and then went out on loan to Strasbourg before being sold to Bournemouth in the summer. So a tough run of away fixtures for Chelsea, and really it's this December thing that they've got to overcome, and that is made more difficult by the fact that they've got to do 3 of those league games, against Leeds last night, against Bournemouth, and then against Everton at home, without their main man, Moisés Caicedo. Now, for a long time, we've spoken about Chelsea being probably too reliant on Cole Palmer, and it seems like this season they've really been able to play well without him. And that's been a big issue for Chelsea. I remember when I spoke to Pochettino a couple of years ago now, I asked him a question about Chelsea being Cole Palmer FC, and he set out, it was a game against Arsenal, he set out for Chelsea to prove that they weren't Cole Palmer FC, and they went on to lose 5-0. So that sort of gave them that name tag, and it's been a long journey to overcome that, because he's such a talented and such a quality player that the players around him probably feel as if they almost want to feed him the ball a lot of the time, and it led to Chelsea being very reliant on him for output and for goals in recent seasons. But with his injury, with his groin injury, Chelsea have actually been really good without him this season, and goals have been coming from other places, the likes of Pedro Neto, Enzo Fernandez. But now, maybe they're Moisés Caicedo FC, maybe they're Reece James FC, because without those two last night, Chelsea looked utterly lost, I thought. Reece James showed against Arsenal what a player he is in that midfield, and even whether you have him in midfield or if you have him at right back, he's such a talented player, and not only that, not such a strong player who progresses the ball brilliantly, he's a leader, and that's what I felt Chelsea were missing last night. Enzo Fernandez was on the pitch, but wasn't overly impactful, even in terms of his leadership. I didn't think he really led the team that well, not in the same way that Reece James does. He might not be as vocal, but he sets a precedent. He's a example for the other players to follow in terms of how they discipline themselves. And you look at that little kick out from Esteval, I feel like Reece James would have had none of that. He keeps the players around him a bit more calm. He sets the pace. He sets the precedent for the team. And Moisés Caicedo, much the same, not necessarily the most vocal of leaders, but the way they play and the way they conduct themselves is an example for the rest of the squad. And I feel like without both of them, Chelsea just lacked a bit of composure in the team, because you saw that the defence just looked discombobulated, for lack of a better word. But I think that moment with Tosin at the back at the end, a horrible bit of defending, truth be told, from him. It really wasn't good enough, and he'll accept that and he'll learn from that. It really wasn't good enough, and that's the kind of thing where I feel like Reece James would add that level of composure and stability, where he wouldn't be then overthinking what he's going to do with the ball. And there was a few times with Sanchez's passing out the back. I think Reece James has been a big player for Robert Sanchez this season in terms of bringing back his confidence and bringing back the ability to play out from defence, which obviously is something Enzo Maresca really likes to do. But with the Leeds game, it was just a concoction of awful things really for Chelsea. None of it ever seemed to look as though it was going well. They never really looked like they were going to get back in the game. Liam Delap's finishing was not good enough. In comparison to how the Leeds strikers played in a 2, I thought they were so much better than Delap and João Pedro. Obviously, one playing behind the other. I was actually speaking to Martin Tyler after the game, the commentator, legendary commentator, and such a nice guy as well. But he was saying how nice it was to see a front 2 really play together and play close together. And Martin used to be a striker, if you didn't know, back in the day. And he was saying about how this front 2 that he used to play and used to always be so close together, and the way João Pedro and Liam Delap play, they seem like they were miles apart. Even if they weren't physically, it seemed like they weren't on the same wavelength and not playing the same style almost, because Delap, he just, even when he got the ball, he looked for João Pedro a few times and just couldn't quite find him, and then vice versa, when Delap would get the ball and it looks as though he's going to run through and shoot, shots either went into the side netting or out for a goal kick, and it just really wasn't good enough. Chelsea looked like a side devoid of confidence without James and Caicedo, and that's something they're really going to have to overcome, because against Burnley, Andre Santos played in that position, and he was really good against Burnley. He got man of the match. He played really well, progressed the ball really well, but last night he just looked as though it was those passes when it comes out of the defence and it hits your kind of number 6 position. It was those small passes into either the right back or into Enzo Fernandez that Santos just couldn't seem to get right, and he's definitely capable of that. But I think for a lot of these players, as Enzo Maresca also said, this was a welcome to the Premier League moment for a lot of those young, especially the new Chelsea players, the likes of Esteval. Enzo Maresca, like I said this was a welcome to the Premier League moment, and I think that showed for Esteval, because whilst he still creates chances, still obviously an elite talent, such a good player, don't get that twisted. But for Esteval, I felt as though whilst he still created those chances, still took those shots that we've become used to seeing from him, he was frustrated down the right-hand side for Chelsea, and it wasn't nice to watch as a journalist or as a fan, because he's such a brilliant, talented player. But to see him then kick out, I thought he was quite lucky actually to escape a red card for that. It was just a petulant challenge, and it really is something he's going to have to learn. And that was where a player like a Pedro Neto, a lot of people obviously have been calling for Esteval to be starting every game, and perhaps for Neto to take a bit of a back seat, but I think last night's game showed the importance of a Pedro Neto in this side. Even if he is on the left-hand side, I think he's definitely more effective on the right, for that matter. And Esteval, perhaps they can play together with Esteval in the 10, maybe go back to João Pedro up front, because as I mentioned, Liam Delap really wasn't good enough and probably hasn't been good enough for a little while. Obviously got a goal against Barcelona, to give him some credit, but who didn't nearly get a goal against Barcelona, eh? But yeah, It was a really tough night for Chelsea at Elland Road. They have to bounce back against Bournemouth if they're going to beat this December curse, and let's hope they can. Don't forget, if you want Chelsea to beat Bournemouth, because I saw the numbers on this week's Chelsea Exposed, and maybe a few of you didn't like the video, and that's why Chelsea lost to Leeds. So don't forget, if you want Chelsea to beat Bournemouth this weekend, to like and subscribe and comment down below what you thought of Chelsea's performance last night. What do you think they need to remedy before they play Bournemouth this weekend? I'll be there once again at the Vitality Stadium. Another new stadium for me, something I'm really looking forward to. So I'll join you back here probably on Monday, or maybe you might see me tomorrow. Who knows? We'll see. I'll be at Chelsea's press conference tomorrow, so maybe there'll be a video from me from there. But otherwise, apart from that, I'll see you on Monday for Chelsea Exposed, where we'll be reflecting on what's either going to be a mixed week or a really tough week for Enzo Maresca and Chelsea. Thank you very much for watching, and goodbye.